new research is raising concerns about the government's proposed ban on vape flavours, warning that perhaps a little counterintuitively, it could have serious unintended consequences for public health. A county-by-county analysis suggests that almost 60,000 former smokers nationwide could return to cigarettes if only tobacco-flavoured vapes are allowed. In Clare alone, it's estimated that more than 1,200 ex-smokers could relapse. Joining me now to discuss the findings and the concerns around the proposed legislation is Ken Heffernan. Ken is a former smoker himself and also a spokesperson for Respect Vapers. Ken, good to speak to you. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks very much for the call, Alan.
So, you are a former smoker, a spokesperson for Respect Vapers. Can you tell listeners a bit about your own journey and perhaps struggles, if there were any, to rid yourself of cigarettes?
Oh, certainly, yeah. I'm an ex-3-pack-a-day smoker for over 30 years. And I tried almost anything and everything to give up cigarettes thousands of times. Unfortunately, every attempt that I ever had failed until I was introduced to vaping almost 15 years ago now. And within the space of a couple of weeks, I had actually stopped smoking and I haven't smoked a cigarette since.
Wow, okay, so that had a hugely transformative effect, particularly, Ken, given how addicted you were. 3 packs a day, like 60 cigarettes. It sounds like at pretty much any point in the day you had a cigarette in your hand.
Oh, chain smoking. Like any opportunity I got, I'd have one cigarette after another cigarette after another cigarette.
Absolutely incredible. And I mean, did you ever expect that vaping would have such a transformative effect? I'm sure you were willing to try anything. Did you think it would be a slow, laborious process, a longer road before you managed to knock it on the head?
I thought it was going to be the same as every other thing that I tried, whether it was hypnosis, patches, gums, all the rest. And I thought it would work for a while, and then like all the rest of them, it'll stop working and I'll just go back to smoking. And I'd got to the stage where I'd literally sort of given up, right, when I tried vaping. And I couldn't believe, for my own personal journey, I couldn't believe how easy it was to actually give up cigarettes with using flavoured vapes.
So it was the flavours themselves that played a huge part in that. Were you trying all sorts of different flavours? Was there one particular one you settled on that helped you rid yourself of your smoking addiction?
Yeah, menthol. Mint and menthol were the two that really stopped me from smoking. Because the one thing I wanted to try and do was get away from tobacco flavour, right? And I think most adults who use vapes nowadays, especially the different flavoured vapes, they want to stay away from that taste of tobacco. There are still vapors out there who prefer tobacco flavourings, but I don't really know anybody that I know who vapes. They're all into, different flavours, whether it's fruit, dessert flavours, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we've spoken about it on the show before. You can see why the government wants to ban vape flavours because they'd see them as encouraging, luring people, maybe particularly younger people, into taking up vaping. But it suggests, these new figures suggest that in Clare alone, here alone, more than 1,200 ex-smokers could return to cigarettes if vape flavours are banned. I mean, what was your reaction when you saw those numbers came? Because, as I say, you can see why the government want to do it, but it seems whichever way they try to address it, if it will lead to either people returning to smoking, or if they don't do it, it could lead to more people vaping.
Well, the thing which I look at is, right, I know the government have very strong I can't even think of the word at the moment, legislation in the books. And they need to enforce that legislation and enforce the rules around it, rather than just penalise, adults who want to smoke or who want to vape, right? We don't mind, right, in an awful lot of ways if they ban certain flavours, but there are 3 or 4 which have constantly come out, which are the favourites of most adult vapers, which are the fruit flavours, the mint flavours, and some dessert flavours, and they've all come out constantly as people's favourites. So why ban all of them and just have the one flavour? All that's going to happen with that then is people are going to look at the illicit market, right, and try and buy stuff in, on the internet and everything else. Like the illicit market at the moment in Ireland is worth over 220 million quid, for people, buying stuff that are not allowed to buy here over the shelf.
But that again returns me to the point I was just making, that if you have any of those fruit flavours or dessert flavours available, the fear is that will encourage or entice children, teenagers, whatever, younger people into vaping, and perhaps that could even lead to them ultimately smoking at some point.
Yeah, but the rules we have in the country at the moment for cigarettes is you have to be a certain age to be able to buy a packet of cigarettes. We need to have that same rule brought in and enforced in everywhere where vapes are sold, so that you have to be a minimum of 18 before you can purchase them. Those rules that the government have been talking about now since Stephen Donnelly was in the government, that they were going to bring these in, and they still haven't brought in the legislation fully, right, to stop that. So at any age you could basically buy a vape, and we are totally against that.
Look, the government says this bill is about protecting public health. You doubt that, though? You feel it actually end up doing the opposite?
I think it 100%. Right? I don't think it's anything to do with health, to be quite honest with you, and that's just my opinion. Cigarettes
still cause around 6,000 preventable deaths in Ireland every year. Do you fear this policy could reverse years of progress in reducing smoking rates?
Yeah, well, all you have to do now is look at Sweden, right, as a perfect model for how a system which encourages people to change to vaping away from smoking has worked. And all the latest figures from Sweden, it is just amazing. They're actually the world's first considered smoke-free country, because they've got their smoking rates down below 5% at this stage. And the amount of hospitalizations from smoking-related diseases has actually fallen drastically in the last couple of years in Sweden.
You believe restricting youth access is a better solution than removing flavours for adults, and you're talking about the Swedish model there, but how I suppose efficiently do you believe we could mirror that? Would it be possible, or do you envisage it being as enforceable here as it is in Sweden?
Well, I think the simplest thing to look at is that vapes should not be sold in most of the places that they're sold at the moment, right? They should be particular vape shops, right? And they have a license, and they're regularly checked that they're upholding that license. To me, that would be a huge sort of problem solver, right, from the youth vaping, as they call it, problem.
Nationally, the research is suggesting, Ken, that almost 60,000 ex-smokers could relapse. Do you actually believe that could be the scale of the impact if the government follows through on this? Could it realistically reach those kind of numbers of people returning to smoking? Because I suppose a lot of people like yourself who've gone to vaping, you're free of the clutches of smoking. Even if it was reduced to one flavour, people might have been vaping long enough to say, well, do you know what? Okay, my choices here are limited in terms of flavours, but actually I'm used to this now, and I'm willing, even if the limited flavours that are left aren't ones I'm mad about, I still prefer it to what I was on before, which was, in your case, 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yeah. Well, from one point of view is the government are also trying to ban all single-use pods, all right? So that's what an awful lot of people use nowadays for the convenience effort. And if you ban all the pod systems and all the flavours, so you literally only have the one flavour, right? You walk into a shop and there's a packet of cigarettes behind the counter, you go, just give us those. It's the convenience, and people, unfortunately, we're convenience driven, right? And we will turn around and go, yeah, just give us a packet of cigarettes with it. That's how I feel that people will react anyway.
I mean, I dread to think, given the health system and the situation with that, is something we discuss quite often in Morning Focus, what it would mean if tens of thousands of people did actually return to smoking, what emergency departments that are already struggling, what they would be like.
Well, I know for a fact, like myself, I used to suffer very badly with bronchitis. I'd have 3 or 4 major attacks a year, which means I'd be off work and everything else. I had high blood pressure and a couple of other things. And since I stopped smoking and I've been vaping for, as I said, nearly 15 years now, I haven't had a bronchitis attack in nearly 15 years. Now, again, I'm only talking about me. I don't know other people's situations, so I can't comment on them. But I haven't had any bronchitis attacks. My blood pressure is perfect. My health has improved tremendously, since I started vaping. And again, personal story.
Yeah, as you say, your personal story, because that does raise the question of over the long-term impact of vaping itself. You potentially, Ken, might be one of the lucky ones.
Oh, yeah. But sure, we all know, the aunt or uncle who smoked, 50 cigarettes a day for 100 years and, it never did them any harm. I could be one of those people, but anybody I know who vapes, and I know a good few people because I often talk to a lot of different people who vape, every single one of them will go on about their own personal story and how much they have improved or how their lives have improved since vaping came along. So, the statistics are out there, the stories are out there. I think the government are very closed-minded when it comes to this. It's literally just, we need to put a stop to this. And it's like everything else. You try and ban things, and if you try and ban it, it only just finds, the illicit market finds a way around any of these bans and will, pick up the slack.
You've been vaping for 15 years. Before that, you were smoking 3 packs of cigarettes daily. How often do you vape, Ken, on a daily basis? And has that changed over the 15 years? Has it reduced? Or would you say, as of now, you're reaching for a vape maybe as often as you reach for your pack of cigarettes?
Oh, easily, right? But the difference is, right, there's only 3 different chemicals, right, in a vape, right? So, there was a study done a few years ago with The Lancet in the UK, which is one of the highest regarded medical magazines in the world. And they said, nobody is ever saying that, vaping is 100% safe. But The Lancet did a study and they said that it was at least 95% safer than smoking a cigarette, since there are over 14,000 different components in, a cigarette. There's 3 to 4 in a vape. So, yeah, to me, there's no comparison between the two of them,
Although you certainly feel your health is in a better condition than it was when you were smoking, but again, that's just your own story. Others who are vaping might have a very different story, although a listener here is agreeing with you on 086 1800 964. They've texted that the government wants to ban smoking and vaping entirely in Ireland. What they want is to control the public, says this listener. I agree with what Ken said. These vapes help people, but again, there's always someone ruining it for everyone else. I get my smokes from the UK duty free. I'd rather give my money to the UK government than this government here. Ken, just before I let you go, what changes would you like to see made to the bill before it becomes law, and what message would you send to TDs, ministers, both from this county and elsewhere, who'll be voting on this legislation?
It would literally just be listen to some people who have been vaping for a while and do not ban all the flavours. Give us a choice, right? We're adults. I'm nearly 60 years of age now. I want to make my own choice, so I would rather have a few different flavours to choose from. I don't want tobacco flavour, right? That's, again, just me. I don't like the taste of it,
Okay. Look, we'll park that there, but it's definitely something we're going to return to. Ken, thanks for joining us to give us your perspective on that. That's Ken Heffernan, former smoker himself and spokesperson for Respect Vapers.